The man was led home by a stranger. He was eager to spend the night with her, but the woman said there was a monster hidden in her closet. The man suggested, "Why don't I help you chase away the monster, and you give me a little reward?" After he said that, he ran to the upstairs bedroom. The woman immediately locked the door. A monster in a black robe quietly approached. It bit down on the man's neck. 5 patients bring you 5 strange stories. Without further ado, let's get started. Dr. McKen accepted his latest work assignment. He arrived at Silver Mountain Psychiatric Hospital. This is a hospital specializing in treating criminally insane patients. Dr. Moon would be in charge of McKen's orientation training. She is the director of the residency program here. Dr. Moon showed McKen around. This is a very small public hospital, with a total of 27 residents, and 5 general doctors. The facilities are also incomplete. This is not a good choice for employment. Dr. Moon reminded McKen again that the patients here are very dangerous. The strangest thing is that 5 patients have the same illusions. To prove that she was telling the truth, Dr. Moon pulled out several patient files. First is Casey, who has been hospitalized for 5 years. She suffers from paranoid schizophrenia. Before her onset, Casey was weak and harmless. 5 years ago, she befriended an ordinary man named Paul. Casey brought the man back to her house. They were alone in a room together. Paul eagerly leaned closer to Casey, but she declined, saying, "You should listen to some music first. I'll go wash up upstairs." Paul thought nothing of it. He chose a jazz record and put it into the jukebox. Meanwhile, Casey went upstairs. She activated a mechanism on the bookshelf. Behind it was a hidden room. She hurriedly crawled in and took off her clothes. When Casey returned downstairs, she had changed into a sexy red dress. Casey had changed not just her outfit, but also her underlying personality. Poor Paul was unaware of the truth. Casey bluntly stated, "I don't want to sleep alone tonight, because this house feels scary." Casey hoped Paul could be honest with her too, and share his most fearful memories. To please the girl, he reluctantly began to recount his experiences at age 12. It was a hot summer, when he and his brother Roy went to fish by an ancient lake. Roy saw something floating in the water, so he gently prodded it with a stick. Paul worried that his brother might fall in, so he pulled hard on Roy's arm. In the end, they pulled the fuzzy mass ashore. They discovered it was a puppy, but it had been dead for a long time. Its mismatched eyes were wide open. The brothers buried the dog in the woods. Then they took their fishing rods and prepared to go home. Unexpectedly, the puppy followed them. To this day, Paul still often sees those terrifying eyes. After telling his story, Paul couldn't help but ask Casey, "Why are you afraid of this house?" She replied that since she was little, there had been a monster in her bedroom closet. In the dead of night, Casey could hear the heavy breathing from inside, so when she grew up, she often brought men home to avoid being alone in her bedroom. Paul became intrigued by this. "I can help you beat that monster, but you have to give me a little reward." Paul confidently walked into the bedroom. Unexpectedly, Casey suddenly locked the door. The mysterious closet creaked open. A black-robed monster emerged from inside. It grabbed Paul and drained his blood. Afterward, the police only found the bodies in Casey. They Slayo didn't believe in the rumored closet monster, so Casey was locked up in a psychiatric hospital for control. McKen was not too surprised after hearing this. She believed Casey's childhood might have involved domestic abuse. That's why she viewed the closet as a fixed scene, to escape from the abuser, or the place where the attack happened. The monster in the closet was just her fantasy of the abuser. Dr. Moon was pleased with McKen's assessment, but the next case was even more complex. The patient was named Olivia. After falling ill, she moved to the countryside alone to continue her painting career. In the evening, Olivia took her medication and fell asleep. She heard voices outside. Olivia immediately got up to check each room. She found nothing unusual, until Olivia looked at her canvas from the day. She discovered someone had helped her finish her painting. The paint on it was still wet, due to the medicat ion. Olivia thought it was just her hallucination. She quickly returned to her room to rest. Olivia dreamed of a terrifying figure in a black robe. She suddenly woke up from the dream. Now it was bright outside. The marks on the canvas were still there, proving that last night's occurrences were not illusions. Olivia believed this was a prank by her ex-boyfriend Chad. She immediately called to question him. Olivia didn't listen to Chad's explanations. She started scolding him directly. Then Olivia picked up her paintbrush and destroyed the eerie painting. By evening, the painting not only returned to normal, but also had some new marks added. There were also unexplained handprints. On the living room table, Olivia grabbed a knife for protection. She didn't notice the shadow behind her. Olivia suddenly felt a sharp pain in her thigh. She found several new bloodstains there.
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
When Olivia finally noticed the canvas, the work on it was already complete. A figure in a black robe stood in the dark woods. Its eyes glowed with a red menace. Olivia was so scared that she ran upstairs and crawled into the blanket. Unexpectedly, the figure in the black robe pushed open the door. Clearly, it was the monster hiding in Casey's closet. The figure knocked over Olivia's pills. When her grandmother came to visit, she only saw Olivia collapsed on the floor. She hadn't eaten for many days. McCann analyzed that the two patients currently both have a history of male abuse. One was abused by her father, and the other by her ex-boyfriend. Could it be that these experiences trigger the same illusions? Dr. Moon immediately countered. At first, we thought so too. But soon, similar male patients began to appear. This patient's name is Tommy. He and his brother Ethan killed someone during a robbery. They buried the body in the wilderness.
Dad would have been proud of us. If he was alive, he could have helped us dig.
Mom would let us dump a body in her communal trash zone.
They drove to the house left by their father. Tommy wanted to smoke to calm down. In his dazed state, he saw that he was holding a knife. Tommy walked to the sink to wash his hands. He rummaged through the cupboard for some liquor and found his father's visual radio. Tommy carefully adjusted the signal.
I know what you did, Tommy.
He was on edge due to the earlier situation. Tommy wrapped his brother's phone in foil to prevent the police from tracking any signals. The brothers settled for canned food for lunch. Ethan went rummaging through the shed. Halfway through eating, he hoped to find something left by their father. Tommy glanced out the window in boredom. A black shadow pressed against the window, but it vanished in the blink of an eye. Ethan came out with a game console and discs. The two set up the equipment and played games together. Ethan quickly got drunk and fell asleep. Tommy heard the voice again. I know what you did. Immediately after, a faint green light appeared outside the door. Tommy opened the door to check, and it was the black-robed monster.
Tommy did a bad thing, and now something's coming for him.
When Tommy woke up from the illusion, his mental state was extremely unstable. Tommy told his brother, "Someone knows we killed someone. He has been sending warnings over the radio. That person is outside, and he's coming to kill us." Tommy was rambling, gripping the shotgun tightly. He saw the black-robed figure standing behind his brother. Ethan quickly reassured his brother, "No matter what happens, I'm here for you. No one knows we killed someone." After saying this, he hugged Tommy, who was in a breakdown. Ethan felt his brother needed to get some fresh air. They could go to a nearby bar and sit for a while. The whole house suddenly lit up with green light. Ethan froze at the doorway. He turned around in shock. In the next moment, he was dragged away by the black-robed monster. Tommy rushed out to save his brother, but Ethan lay on the ground, bleeding profusely. Soon after, Tommy went to the police station to confess. He admitted to the robbery and murder. After investigation, the police believed Ethan was also killed by Tommy. However, he denied this. He claimed that the monster killed his brother. Did the black-robed monster really exist? Or was it something Tommy fabricated to escape the death penalty? Why do 3 patients have the same illusions? McCann needed more cases to draw conclusions, so she opened the 4th file. This time, the patient was named John. He was also a male. John was a supernatural enthusiast. He ran a YouTube ghost hunting show. One day, John spent $140 online to hire a girl named Rose as his assistant. The two drove to an abandoned house. Rose didn't believe in ghosts, but John claimed that he had seen a monster with his own eyes. That thing roamed the night, punishing the guilty. The purpose of their visit was to capture footage of the monster, to prove that supernatural beings exist. Until late at night, they finally arrived at their destination. As soon as Rose got out of the car, she saw a shadow flash by in the attic. She quickly sent her location to a friend. If she lost contact unexpectedly, her friend could call the police with the address. John stated that after marrying his wife, he initially planned to renovate and move into the house, but some unforeseen events occurred. He can only give up the plan. Seeing that John didn't want to elaborate, she moved the equipment into the house. Rose just wanted to finish the work and leave quickly. The lights in the house flickered and then went completely out. John hurriedly pulled out a match to light a candle, but it seemed like the place was working against him. The candle lit up, and the lighting returned to normal. Rose pressed the record button to start filming. John stood in front of the camera and said his opening line. It turned out that his wife had died in this house, and the police suspected that John was the murderer. Upon hearing this, Rose thought it wasn't worth the $140. She didn't want to assist a murderer. John quickly explained, "I would never harm my wife. She was killed by that monster." To keep Rose around, he raised the payment to $300. She decided to go along with it. They entered the house together. John moved forward to help remove the lens cap. As the image flickered, it seemed like there was someone standing behind him. When Rose prepared to take a closer look, the shadow disappeared again. She could only put aside her doubts and go upstairs with John. As soon as they got upstairs, the camera ran out of battery. John told Rose to wait upstairs. He went to the car to get a spare battery. Rose was also a thief. Not only was she unafraid, but she also took the opportunity to steal. At this moment, the light overhead suddenly flickered. A door on one side creaked open. Rose quickly hid in the bedroom. She crawled into the blanket and trembled. Unexpectedly, a hand yanked the blankets away. Rose lay on the bed, groping for the camera. Unexpectedly, that hand suddenly grabbed her. On the other side, John finally found the spare battery. He returned to the house only to discover the circuit had malfunctioned again. John had no choice but to take a flashlight and head upstairs. He noticed that Rose was not in the hallway. John went into the bedroom to look for her. He saw Rose lying on the floor, her eyes bleeding. She appeared to be dead. John's legs went weak and collapsed to the ground. He just happened to see the black-robed monster hiding under the bed. John froze in place, too scared to move. He could only watch as the monster crawled closer. John was so scared that he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, the room had returned to normal. When the police received the call and arrived at the cabin, they saw John holding Rose's lifeless body. He was completely out of his mind. This time, McKen didn't say much. She immediately opened the last file. The patient's name was Sean. He was a good-for-nothing addict, living off his parents. He was under his mother's supervision. Sean successfully stayed off drugs for 90 days. One day, he simply couldn't resist. Sean made an excuse to sneak out, to meet up with his drug friends. His unfortunate friend was both broke and hooked. He urged Sean to try mixing hand sanitizer with juice. Don't imitate such brainless behavior. In the evening, Sean quietly snuck back home. He happened to be caught by his mother. He explained that he went to the supermarket to buy some hand sanitizer. Sean's mother could never have imagined that he intended to drink the hand sanitizer. She just told her son to wash up and go to bed. This foolish boy went upstairs and began mixing juice with the hand sanitizer to drink. After he drank a bottle, he started to feel disoriented. The door to the room opened inexplicably. Sean thought he was blinded. He decided to go outside to smoke and clear his head. Unexpectedly, a plastic ball rolled out slowly. Sean kicked the ball away. In the next moment, the black-robed monster suddenly got close. He was so scared that he scrambled to escape. His mother heard the noise. She scolded him, asking what he was doing now. Sean is afraid of exposing the issue of hand sanitizer. He could only lie and say it was nothing. He claimed he had just slipped and fallen. Sean returned upstairs. He washed his face with cold water, but the black-robed monster appeared again. He quickly shut the door and braced it. He waited until the eerie green light disappeared. Sean finally let out a sigh of relief, only to have the black-robed monster grab his ankle. He kicked it off desperately and ran downstairs. Sean grabbed a pot from the kitchen for protection. He soon discovered the monster's trail. He chased after it with the pot in hand. Unexpectedly, the monster hid in his mother's room. Sean pounded on the door and urged his mother to run, but she thought that her son was having a drug episode and refused to open the door. Unbeknownst to her, the monster was quietly approaching. When Sean finally retrieved his gun and broke down the door, his mother had already been killed by the monster. The subsequent events are easy to guess. A mentally unstable madman, combined with the brutally murdered old woman. The police would naturally consider Sean as the murderer. After reviewing the 5 cases, McKen decided to stay at the psychiatric hospital for research. McKen believed she could achieve results. Dr. Moon personally escorted her out. Halfway there, she realized she hadn't brought her coat. Dr. Moon told McKen to wait a moment, and then she walked into a side closet. When McKen noticed she hadn't come out, she opened the door to check on her.
It's only a game, Dr. McKenzie.
The film ends here. The entire plot development was too hasty. There is no connection between the 5 stories, except for the black-robed monster. The final twist of the ending was also nonsensical. The whole article is shrouded in mystery. There was no solid plot to stand on. The identity and motives of the black-robed monster were completely overlooked. Horror films need to adhere to basic principles as well. It's a miracle that such a script could even be made.